Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is episode 7, and I am going to be covering weeks 5 and 6 of my accountability experience for 2026. I'm combining these 2 weeks because I was on vacation for most of that time. I took a trip to Iceland, and I've got a lot to share. Some of it is progress, some of it is perspective, and some of it is just me embarrassing myself in another country. So we'll get into all of that, but first, let's talk about where things stand with my checklist. When I left for vacation, I weighed 251.6 pounds, and when I got back, I weighed 253.4. Honestly, I don't feel like I did a whole lot of damage while I was there, so I feel pretty good about that. Of course, I did not go into that trip trying to be perfect by any stretch. I also didn't treat it like a free pass to do whatever I wanted. I tried to keep things somewhat consistent, protein heavy meals, smaller portions, and just being aware of what I was doing. I did have a couple of light desserts, nothing crazy, and I ended the trip with a plate of pasta, which, if you've been following me now, you know that's probably the hardest thing that I had to give up to pursue this carnivore diet. Excuse me. But the part that I'm excited to report about is that 6 days after getting home, as in this past week, I weighed in at 248 pounds. Now, I have not seen a number under 250 in nearly 2 years, probably 2 years. Uh, Hard to remember back that far, but that meant a lot to me. And it told me that I can live life a little, step outside of my routine, come back, and keep moving forward. That's not always been the case with me. A lot of times, I'll pursue something for a couple of weeks and then I'll take a break or I'll find a reason to have a cheat meal or a cheat snack, and then I start making excuses. And that didn't happen this time, and I'm quite proud of myself for that. Now, let's get into the checklist. Bible reading, got a yes. Prayer, unfortunately, got a no. So did carnivore for obvious reasons. My monthly book, yes. My no social day, no. Did I work on my new AI skills? Yes. And did I do any podcast prep? Yes. So that's more yeses than nos. So I'll take it. As far as my Bible reading goes, I did a lot of Bible reading on the plane. There's something about being on a long flight where you're kind of removed from everything. You don't have any responsibilities. Um, there's no distractions pulling you in 10 different directions. So I had the time and I used it. Now, prayer, on the other hand, is a different story. I have not been consistent there. That's something I want to change. Um, Reading the Bible has actually made me want to pray more, which is kind of ironic because it's like the Bible reading is pointing me toward the other. It's pointing me more towards wanting to make that connection with God again. I just haven't built that rhythm yet, and I don't quite know why. But I'm hoping to try to set aside some time in the mornings, quiet time before everything else starts up for the day. I don't want it to be anything complicated, just something I do intentionally, where I sit down and have a conversation with God each day. Now, I did bring my February book with me on the trip, but I don't think, it's not that I don't think I did. I know I didn't open it a single time. Every day was packed from the time we woke up till the time we went to bed between driving and excursions and walking around Reykjavik, just trying to take everything in. Uh, by the time we got back to the hotel, I was done for the day. And, since I've been home, I've picked it back up and I've been pretty consistent again. But on the learning side now, I've made good progress there with my AI studies. I've worked through several more chapters in Module 2 of my first course in the IBM AI Prompt Engineering certification that I'm pursuing. And now that I'm back and my schedule is more normal, I can put more time into that. So that's one of the bigger priorities for me right now. That, actually, that's a good segue into this other decision that recently made. My local town has something we call the Red Stocking Review. It's done every other year and it's put on by the Roxborough Women's Club. And I was planning to participate again this year, but I ended up stepping away from that. It wasn't an easy decision. It's just something I've done before and I enjoyed, but it would have taken a lot of time and energy away from my other priorities for 2026, especially my more immediate priorities. And right now, I need that time for those other things, my health, my studies, this podcast, and just trying to build better consistency in my day to day life. So I stepped back and I feel okay about that. All right. Um, I want to quickly get into Iceland. I know I rushed through all of those updates, but it's because I wanted to talk a little bit about Iceland. I got a couple minute little slide presentation I'm going to let run in the background while I'm talking. Um, but let's talk about Iceland. So it's really hard to put into words. Yeah, that geyser was about as unimpressive in person as it was in this video. I expected the geyser to be something big and long and beautiful, and it was cute, but anyway. So you see pictures of a place like this, the mountains, the glaciers, the coastline, and you think you understand what it's going to feel like. But when you're actually there, it just hits so differently. The scale of everything stands out right away. Wide open landscapes, snow covered mountains that look flat on the top. They call them flat top mountains. Massive rock formations that have been shaped by lava over centuries. We visited the southern coast, the northern peninsula, the Golden Circle. We stood in front of glaciers that have been there longer than any of us can really even comprehend. And honestly, standing there, it gives you perspective. You realize how small you are in the middle of something so massive. And for me, that kind of pointed me straight back to God's creation. It was very humbling, but in a very good way. Now, Iceland also humbled me in a completely different way. Well, you know what? Before I finish that story, I'm going to let this slideshow play out and I'm going to stop talking. So enjoy this. All right. Just a few pictures that I took while I was there. I actually took quite a few more pictures, but as I was going through and looking at them at the end of each day, I ended up deleting a lot more than I kept because I didn't want to remember Iceland the way that it appeared in those pictures because the pictures just flattened it. Such beautiful, like these lava fields. They were just breathtaking and overwhelming to look at in person. But when you looked at them in a picture, it flattened them such that it was hard to describe the different textures that were in that setting. So I ended up deleting quite a few pictures. Anyway, back to my little story. I mentioned that Iceland kind of humbled me a little bit. I walked into a bonus grocery store. We weren't even there to buy anything. I just wanted to look around and see how things were packaged, what brands they had, what prices looked like. So we're walking around, taking it all in, and eventually we're ready to leave. The problem is we couldn't figure out how to get out of this store. We saw the entrance gates. They were open. They were glowing green. Didn't mean to hit my mic there, but they looked like a normal exit. So I said, "Let's go this way." But the second we stepped through, this obnoxiously loud alarm goes off. I mean, I'm talking loud. The gate, it was glowing green, but now it's glowing red, and it started to close in on us. And I immediately just backed up, and I'm like, whoa, 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 wrong way. It was very embarrassing, to say the least. But then we looked around, nobody had reacted. I didn't even see anybody looking at us. No employees were rushing over to us, no security, nothing. It was just loud and dramatic for no reason. So we try to we try to go out through the checkout area, but we had the same problem. When we got there, the gates were already closed and we couldn't figure out how to get them to open. Now, eventually, a young employee did walk over and he let us out. Um, and after that, I really didn't want to go back in there. But then later the same day, we were near the pier. I guess it's called the pier. There was a Coast Guard boat there, and I was trying to cross the little side street to take a picture of the mountains in the background. And as I'm getting ready to step off of the sidewalk onto the street, I notice there's other people coming from the other direction walking on the street, no issues. But I hear this horn honking. And I look down and there's a man hollering at me, and it's not in English, so I have no clue what he's saying. I'm just assuming he's yelling at us in Icelandic. No clue what he's saying, and he's still far enough away that I could have easily crossed that street well before he got to me. But he stopped a good 100 or so yards down the road on his moped. Keeps yelling at me. Finally, I took a step. I wasn't on the road. I was still on the sidewalk at this point, but I took a step back and he proceeds to come. And the whole time he's waving one arm, driving his moped with the other, and still yelling at me in whichever language he might have been using at the time. And I just kind of looked around at other people in the area and they're like shrugging their shoulders. Nobody had any idea what was going on or why that man was so upset. But at the end of it all, I looked at my partner. I'm like, okay, this is day one in Iceland. In fact, we've only been here a few hours and I'm already getting yelled at. Uh, so I wasn't sure how that was going to go, but things did improve and we actually had a wonderful time there. Now, we also took a guided food tour. You may have seen some of these pictures in that slideshow that went by a few minutes ago, but in Reykjavik, we took a food tour. I think we had 5 stops. I can't pronounce the names of some of the places we stopped at, so I'm not going to pronounce the name of any of them. But most of it was delicious. We had fresh fish, lamb, bread, skyr, all of it. And then came the fermented shark. It's this little sugar cube looking thing, and he told us, our guide, his name was Mimir, and he was wonderful. And he was telling us, chew it as long as you can. Eventually, you're going to squeeze out some ammonia. And when you're ready to swallow it, quickly chase it with a shot of Brennivin. Well, yeah, I felt that ammonia pop in my mouth, and it was disgusting. There is a video of me taking this shot, but I decided not to share it here. Um, the shot of Brennivin that followed the shark made me forget all about the shark. I'm like, what shark? That Brenneman was strong. I did it once. Once was enough. I can say I have participated in an Icelandic tradition, and I'm happy. Probably never do it again. But the biggest thing I think I took from this trip was I was able to step away from my normal routine, enjoy an experience, and come back without losing momentum. Um, there were times, as I've mentioned before, where one week off track would turn into several, but this was quite a bit different. Being in a place like Iceland where everything around you feels bigger than your day to day concerns, it kind of shifts your perspective a little. And it helps that Iceland is a very expensive country to travel to. Well, not getting there, but once you're there, the cost of things helped me control my appetite quite a bit. But the things that feel heavy at home, they don't necessarily carry the same weight when you're standing in front of a massive glacier. I came back feeling grateful and I'm ready to keep going. And now that I'm back, I am focusing on my AI certification. I'm working on building a consistent prayer routine. I am staying on track with my diet and I'm continuing to show up each week here. I'd go back to Iceland again, no question. Maybe in the summertime though. But for now, I'm back home and I am moving forward. If this episode connected with you, in any way, whether it's via progress, setbacks you might be having, or just trying something new and figuring it out as you go. I would appreciate it if you would subscribe or follow or share it with someone who's on a similar path. And if you're working towards something right now, drop a comment and let me know what it is. I'd love to hear about it. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.